Hey everyone, it's Justine and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be playing with all sorts of textures of different cardstocks and mediums, and I'm going to be using the large and small die cut of the month from Spellbinders to create my cards today. Going through the small die of the month with you, all the kits have a project inspiration on the back, and then there are several influencers like myself who will create monthly inspiration as well for you to take a look at. This Small Die of the Month club runs $12.50 a month and comes with lots of really fun small dies. For example, this month's Halloween-themed card kit comes with 2 ghosts, 2 bats, a cat, this really fun frame die, a piece of candy, as well as some sentiments like happy, haunting, and Halloween. Even if you're not a big fan of Halloween, there's a lot of dies like the happy, the frame banner, as well as the cat that can be used for other occasions. Super fun. The large die cut of the month retails for $25 if you go with the monthly subscription, has a value of $35. This month's project inspiration is this really fun candle. Now the small and the large die of the month you can get as a bundle as well if you're interested for $30 a month, and you can get both kits each month sent to your door. This large one here comes with several really useful items for Halloween, like this trick or treat frame, this cat, as well as the spooky pumpkin and the ghosts. It also comes with a square die, which is perfect for any occasion, as well as this die here that has 2 panels that you can glue, and that's perfect for creating a box. So again, so many of these dies can be used even if you don't celebrate Halloween for other occasions and can be used throughout the year. What I also like is how all of the measurements are listed at the bottom of the project guide, so I know exactly what I'm going to be creating. Alright, let's get started. So I'm going to start off my project inspiration this month. As I said, I bring you inspiration each month featuring the kits, so if you ever consider being a subscriber, you'll have ideas for my channel. And I'm going to be using some Yupo paper here, and I'm going to be using several colors of the alcohol inks. I'm going to be using Valencia, Dandelion, Coral, Sunset Orange, as well as a little bit of gold. And I'm going to add some of the gold onto the blending tool. So I've added a little squirt onto each area of the blending tool, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to just dab it. I'm going to rotate my brush from side to side as I go along. And the more texture I build up will determine by how many layers I put on the Yupo paper. You could apply alcohol inks, of course, directly to it, but I wanted to create this kind of fun look where all the colors are mixed together. When I hold the Yupo paper up to the light and you see that shine, that's where that gold really has some fun mixative techniques so that it creates a nice shine. I'm now going to go ahead and I am going to die cut this square frame as well as the trick or treat die. I'm going to put them side by side, or one inside the other, and I'm going to hold them down using some purple tape. And the reason why is because I'm going to be cutting them both at once, and you'll see that the trick or treat doesn't cut out in a square around it, but it just cuts the trick or treat inside of the frame. Really cool. But you do need to have them in place with some purple tape to make sure they don't shift at all. You could also use washi tape or a post-it note or some masking tape if you'd like. I'm going to be using my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine here to roll it through the die cutting machine, and this is going to cut it through my paper. I really enjoy the Platinum 6 die cutting machine. I think it has a really tight squeeze in there compared to a Big Shot that I've used in the past, and I think it is really an improvement on more intricate dies. It does take a little bit to crank it though, because it does have that tight squeeze through it to make sure that all the details are cut out equally. I'm going to go ahead and remove the purple tape now, and then you're going to see how the die actually cuts. So the frame is removed and it has cut out the square, and then you'll see that all the little pieces are cut out. The cardstock that I'm using is 110 pound Nina Solar White cardstock, and I'm using a tool-in-one right now from Spellbinders to get all of those pieces out of my die. There are 2 ends to the tool-in-one tool, this pick as well as the brush head, and both are really great for getting out those intricate pieces. So I'm just you could roll the brush here on top of it, and I find that gets it out a little bit faster sometimes. So I have cut the Yupo paper to fit the area of the die exactly, and what I love on the kit itself is that it shows all the measurements for all the dies, so it was easy for me to know the exact size to cut both the Yupo paper and the piece of acetate I'm going to add now to this cardstock because I'm creating a shaker card. Now comes to the point of the video itself. Sorry, I'm about 6 minutes in and this is finally coming to that point. But I wanted to try to experiment with a couple of different materials in my card. So not only have I used Yupo paper and alcohol inks and I'm creating a shaker card, but I also wanted to try some other textures. This here is foam from Spellbinders. It's similar to craft foam you've played with as a kid. However, this I find to be a little bit thicker than the foam you'll find at craft stores. It die cuts beautifully because it's very, very squishy. So I use the exact same plates in my Spellbinders 6 die cutting machine as I did for cutting the regular die cuts in paper. So you don't have to worry about getting different plates and things like that. So I used that frame die to cut it out. And using the score lines from the frame die, I went ahead with my Tim Holtz ruler and a pen blade, and I just removed the inside of the foam. It was super easy to cut through. This also allowed me to be able to cut a frame for my shaker card without having to cut all of this foam tape and layering foam tape and making sure it's the right size and the right thinness to fit into the frame. This foam really made it super easy. I then went ahead and I added the Yupo paper to the center of my cardstock here towards the top. I wanted to make sure it was even on both the sides and the top. Then I went ahead and took a look at what the shaker would look like on top, and I started to add my sequins. I added some rose gold metallic sequins from Pretty Pink Posh, as well as marigold and some iridescent mini stars. I thought by adding all three of these, it would really bring out the orange and make it pop. Sometimes with the jewels from Pretty Pink Posh, I do take the time to actually flip them over, but since my foam is so thick, they are able to bounce around perfectly in there, so this step was actually not necessary. So I went ahead and added that on top, and then I now have the shaker portion of my card all finished, and everything can bounce around easily inside. I did think, though, that my card was missing something. It was a little bit too white and didn't have a lot of interest, I found, even though the shaker is really cool. So I went ahead and mounted it on a card base, A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, Nina Solar White, 110 pound, to see if that helped by adding that frame around my card. It didn't really. So then I decided that it needed a couple extra little embellishments. So I grabbed the inside of the frame that I had cut out earlier using the pen blade, and I cut out 2 of those bats. I then took a C9 Copic marker because unfortunately I left the cap off of my black one and it dried out, and I decided to use this to color my bats. It did take a little bit for it to dry in the end and I got a bit on my fingers, but it worked beautifully. So this is a fun way that you could die cut and add color to your die cuts if you need a specific color. Then I just glued them onto I added liquid adhesive to the back and glued them onto the front of the card for some extra interest. I think this looks really fun, and they don't take away from the shaker card, but they add to it. They're also the same thickness as the shaker as well, which will even it out in the envelope when I go to send this card. So Yupo paper as well as foam were really fun to play with, but I played with a lot more textures for the next card. So this one uses predominantly the small die of the month club, and I decided to use some burlap cardstock here to make some of my dies. So I went ahead and I used that frame from the large die cut here to die cut a circle out of the burlap. You could also cut it using a paper trimmer. It doesn't really matter. I then added my 2 ghosts and cut those out of the leftover foam paper that I had before. I thought these would look super fun and fluffy as the foam ghosts. And what's really cool, as I had said, I don't have to adjust my plates or anything, and they even cut out these little eyeballs with the foam with no issues. So I added those on top to start my scene. I then added things like glitter cardstock, and I cut out the bats out of glitter cardstock. Again, just adding texture and different textures to my card. I was even going a little mixed media with it and added some antique gold spray from Altenew to add some interest to the white card panel, since I thought things were looking a little bit too white. I wasn't too concerned about those big droplets because I knew the square was going to cover it. For my last and final texture that I experimented with today on this card, I decided to add some washi tape that I got from a friend, Jennifer, and this is some Harry Potter washi tape because she knew I was a big fan. So I added 2 layers of this to the card to just add some interest and pull the card together. Overall, this card was just kind of a giant experiment for me. It may not be the most favorite card I've ever created, but it was really fun to be able to play with all these textures and different looks so that I know for future cards what I liked and what I didn't really prefer when I was working with them. It was really just a lot of fun to let go and play and just add a whole bunch of things on here, and these are going to add a lot of interesting elements to my cards in the future. I especially love that burlap paper for fall cards and these foam for the really cool ghosts. I don't necessarily know if in the future I would add all of these textures together on one card, but again, it was just really fun to play with. So for the final touch here, I added the Happy Halloween in the black glitter cardstock onto the bottom of the card so that I was finishing up my card with a nice sentiment. I can't wait to give these to one of my favorite kids for Halloween. So now I'm just going to finally mount my card onto a card base just like I did the previous card, and then I'm going to call it a day. So I hope you enjoyed the inspiration that I have shown you here, featuring the Spellbinders small and large die cuts, and thanks so much to everyone who has subscribed to the kit in the past. I hope you've been enjoying the program and that you'll find some inspiration this month using these kits. If you're interested in any of the supplies I've used in this video, I have them all listed below in the video description, as well as the link for the subscription program. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll be back very shortly with another video. If you're interested in checking out more videos, you can go ahead and click on my suggested video below or the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!